Welcome to Straight Shooting with the Boyz. It's me, Steven. Got J-Lo with us too.
Yes, sir.
A wild week 2. Crazy for the 49ers, but
oh man, where do we start?
I had to dig deep in the closet for this.
I seen that. I was like, oh man, he pulled it out. I had to throw on the Willis sweater on behalf of his nomination. You know.
It was a lot. It was 10. That was not 10, Jimmy, but 10 members of the 49ers up for nomination.
It'd be pretty dope. Willis and Bowman going at the same time.
They were probably the best tandem in NFL history.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know where we are. Let's talk about this.
As soon as the name comes up, man.
Yeah, a little prayer for Trey, but.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What do you think? All the naysayers are saying Kyle should have ran into over the tackles or between the tackles. Sorry.
Realistically, like for anybody who's saying that they shouldn't have ran him, clearly doesn't pay attention to his skill set and to what he does, and you know what makes him better than Jimmy. If they wanted to put him in the pocket and be out of the pocket, then they would have just kept Jimmy and they would have rolled with Jimmy. The whole point of bringing Trey was to add that extra dimension of being able to do, you know, plays at the backfield, running those options and doing that type of thing. So, I mean, it was looking good. That it wasn't like he was getting smacked around the entire game and they kept running him. Like he was averaging like 5-10 yards a carry, and then, you know, freak incident, gets his ankle stuck in the ground, and you know, it is what it is. It's sad. It sucks to see, and you know, it definitely threw me off watching him go out on that stretcher. But at the end of the day, like, we got to play football. Football's football. We both know that injuries are part of the game. I experienced it, you know. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is at this point.
I agree with you. I think it's a freak accident. It's no one, even running through the tackles, you don't see very many ankle injuries like that. Usually, if you do see a lower leg injury like that, it's a lineman getting hit from behind or from the side or something, not really the runner getting their leg broken the way his was broken.
Yeah, it's usually like somebody rolling into it or something. It doesn't really happen like that typically.
Right, and I'm on the opposite. I think Kyle ran a read option. It wasn't a straight power. Even if it was a straight power, I wouldn't have been against it. But 3 or 4 plays earlier, Deebo Samuel, same exact play, runs for 52 yards. So it's here. It happened. Chalk it up as a freak accident. Hopefully it never happens again. But it is football. And there's car accidents every play. So.
Yep.
It could have been worse. It could have been a shoulder. It could have been...
yeah, it's definitely something he could come back from. I mean, obviously not this season, but he'll be able to get the surgery, rehab, and I'm sure he'll be good to go by next season.
Yeah, I think he'll be back better than ever next year. Give him another year to get with the coaches, learn more football. And I know that's not actually playing football, and it's not getting him the experience he needs, but it's giving him the mental reps. And
yeah.
Just as important as physical reps.
Yep, there was a few conversations that I seen on ESPN and stuff saying that he didn't really know how to read defenses, which I don't agree with. I think he did fine, but you know, if that was the case and there was people that were seeing that, and maybe it's something that he needed to work on a little bit, then you know, something that he can get back to and actually hopefully focus on getting the books, getting the playbook, and get ready for next year.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I'm not as totally down about it as a lot of people are. I know you had mentioned it last week when we were doing our pick'ems. You had mentioned that if the Giants traded for Jimmy, it would have been a better team. But we didn't trade Jimmy. We kept Jimmy. Jimmy looked different this game. He was throwing the ball downfield. He hit Ayuk at like the 5-yard line for a 35-yard, 40-yard pass in the air.
Yeah.
He dropped it. I think he was surprised. I was surprised. He threw the ball downfield a lot this last game. I don't know if it was just there was no pressure on him. He just let it go. If his arm feels good, or is it just like, hey, I'm gonna lose this job if I don't start doing this, so let me just start getting into it and let me throw this downfield real quick.
Yeah, he made a comment which I thought was interesting about how there wasn't really a game plan for him. It was very much like, I mean, they ran with the playbook as is, the game plan as is that it was for Trey. And I find that interesting. We're not behind the scenes. We really don't know how that playbook looks for Jimmy versus Trey. But he did say like he was able to kind of do his own thing out there a little bit more so than he was in the past. So I don't know if that's Shanahan pulling him in a little bit because they know he's not typically that kind of guy. But I mean, like you said, he surprised me. He looked good. He got the ball down the field, and the biggest thing for me that I noticed and was I think telling in itself when he scored that rushing touchdown was the team just seemed more exciting when he was on the field. He played for them he'd been with them for a long time, so I get it. But like, there's something to say about a team that wants to play for a quarterback. Not that they didn't play for Trey or that they weren't excited to play for Trey, but I definitely seen a difference in the energy when Jimmy got on the field and when Jimmy started doing his thing and making those throws. It was cool. It was cool to kind of watch. It definitely quieted me down a little bit about the Jimmy concerns.
Yeah, I wasn't as surprised as Jimmy's playing because he did the same thing in 2017. Came in 2017 with no pressure, no game plan limitations, and he was throwing the ball on the field. I remember it was one particular play. He made Dante Pettis look really, really good, by the way.
Well, so did we, but that's...
No. There was a game against the Seahawks. Jimmy G, 35 yards down the field or whatever. Made a little scramble move. Off balance throw. Hit Dante Pettis, so they're in their hands. It was right over the shoulder. It was a beautiful catch, beautiful throw. And I thought at that point, we found our quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously, injuries change things. The missed throw to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe it was Kyle Shanahan's limitations that caused Jimmy G to be looked at the way he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's how.
Ready to get rid of him. Get rid of Tom Brady and keep him. So.
Yeah. It does bring to that question, like what do they, how they see Jimmy and how they run Jimmy versus how they were going to run Trey. Hopefully they watch this film and they kind of let him off the reins if that's what they're doing, and let him kind of do a little bit more of his thing. Like I said, I was impressed. And again, though, like, so my biggest thing is it's never been my issue for regular season. I think he's always performed decently during the regular season. It's the playoffs that have me concerned. So at this point, like, I already know what I'm going to get from Jimmy regular season, so I'm confident there. I'm just curious as to who's going to show up during these playoffs and if we're going to be able to make that difference, once we get there. Hopefully the weapons that we've added and the players that we've added are those pieces that he needs to get us past that hump. But
yeah, I saw a little difference in him too. He was looking for Ayuk a lot.
Yeah.
Last year he didn't look for Ayuk that much at the beginning of the season. He looked at him a few times, especially intermediate and down the field. So I'm hoping that keeps up with the addition of George Kittle.
Yeah.
Hopefully see an explosive offense this week, which would be good. So.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be nice to see. I have a feeling. I have a good feeling about this game, but we'll see how it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we have our defense is officially top 10. I think they're better than top 10. I think they'll be in the top 3. But
yeah, easy.
Right now we are where we are. Our DBs look amazing. The safety Hufunga looks amazing. I think he's like rated the second best safety in the league right now.
Yeah, that dude's he's my boy. I've been Team Hufunga since USC, so that's my boy. I'm gonna definitely get excited about that, man.
You have to get you a 29 jersey.
I'm about to. I'm legit about to go invest in it. I'm going to look it up and see where I can grab it.
Apparently, he was studying with Palomalo this offseason.
Yeah, he's his nephew, like biologically his nephew. So, just having that lineage, I think, was always spoke to that. But yeah, I think his biggest criticism coming out of college, and what I've heard, Grant Cohn and other people say, is his speed and his athleticism. But as like what they're doing with him, he doesn't need to have that. It's his instincts that get him to the position that he needs to be. That he's able to make those plays. He's not doing anything crazy athletic or flying around like Paul Mala jumping over alignment and stuff. But he's definitely in the right space at the right time. So I like what I said.
Troy Polamalu wasn't the fastest safety either.
No, he was more athletic, I think, and like the side to side, he kind of moved through the field a little bit smoother. But I think that comes with age and experience. So, like I said, it just the instincts you can't teach. You can't teach how to play balls and how to run through the ball and how to do that kind of stuff. It's something you have or something you don't. It's fun to tell he got that. So.
Greenlaw signed a contract too. He's gonna be back with us for the next 2 years. I think that's a good piece to keep. However, I think he's still a little immature for being a 4 or 5 year vet.
He has his moments. Like I said, I would like to see him reel it in a little bit, but at the same time, like the big moments he does have that are legit, like they're exciting. They fire up the defense. They get everybody kind of going, and But I'm hoping that he takes his contract now and he starts to realize, I gotta behave a little bit better as far as like his behavior on the field.
Yeah. Do you think it means we don't keep Aziz, or do you think we still try to make a deal with Aziz? I think Aziz might have priced himself out of our range. I think last year he played so well. I think he might have priced himself out of. Maybe that's why we kept Greenlaw instead of Aziz. But I think he priced himself a little too high. I think. Especially if he continues off where he left last year.
Yeah, that dude's going to be highly wanted by the league. So I don't know. I think Greenlaw was it's kind of that D-Buck Armstead type of situation. Like you keep the one that you can afford. The play level of them two isn't so far off that like you're gonna hurt to lose one of them than the other one. But I would like to see us push to keep that linebacker core together. I think Aziz and Warner and Greenlaw, they all have their different skill sets that kind of let them, run that defense the way they want to run it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we see that with Willis and Bowman going in possibly the Hall of Fame at the same time. It would be awesome to keep those two together. They could only help each other going further down their careers, and the path could lead to amazing things. So I would hope that we could keep all three, but it is a business, and
yeah.
I think Ayuk is also up too, and Bosa's about to. I see Bosa is up. Ayuk is next.
Yeah, he'll get that contract. There's no question in my mind. That dude's gonna get paid. So
he's got 3 sacks. He's looking for a 20 piece, from what I'm understanding. Told you he's gonna have a big game.
Yeah, he definitely ate. Those offensive linemen didn't really know what to do with them. There was a couple of times I think Gino threw himself out of a sack, or else it would have been a couple more. But
the one that got me, I was watching Banks. What's not his name? Ubakam. I don't know why I said Banks. Ubakam was like rushing from the right side. He was like got there like 1.5 seconds. It was quick, and Geno Smith, it looked like he just threw the ball at the ground right in front of him. And I was like, that's intentional grounding. They didn't call it.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I think the Niners defense, they play so aggressive at, like, it's hard. Sometimes I lose track of what's going on the field because there's just so many jerseys flying around and balls flying around. It gets a little nice intense, but that's what I want to see. I would rather them do that and cause those plays and not get the call than try to get that call and have to count on those plays to help make the difference.
Right. There was a play, they threw a dig route to DK Metcalf, and I believe it was Emmanuel Mosley. And he came in and he just hit a tip drill. He just tipped it up. And that kind of like, to me, that kind of initiated, like in my mind, I was just like, oh, they're not playing to be defensive anymore. They're trying to be offensive on the defensive side of the ball. Like, he wasn't tipping it. He wasn't trying to knock it down. He was tipping it up.
Tipping it up.
It looked like he tipped it up, too. And it was a pick, but they called it a pass interference, which was bogus in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a bull. That was a DX call.
2 plays after DK Metcalf, like, just rammed into the back of him to take the ball from him. It was like, you guys are calling this weak.
Man, I don't expect the calls to go in our favor. We did a lot better as far as our penalties go, though, in that game. So I'll take that. I'll take us just not making the mistakes and then, just playing our ball.
Yeah, for sure. I thought they played great. They were playing a lesser talented team. So let's see what we do this week, which we'll talk about on Friday. I'm going to go back to Jimmy real quick because I asked you a question right after the game. Or maybe it was during the game because Jimmy was playing lights out. If we win a Super Bowl this year, and Jimmy leads us there, does Trey come back to the 49ers?
Yes. It would take Jimmy winning the game. So again, we watched Jimmy. We know what we expect from Jimmy, but we know Jimmy isn't who's taken us to the NFC Championships. He's not who's taken us to the Super Bowl, and he hasn't won any of those games for us singly. So there's quarterbacks that can play their part, and he does that great. Like I said, I'm not trying to say he's not a good player. He's a good quarterback, but for me, what separates a guy that you want to keep long term and pay and continue to pay versus a guy that ended up being a backup. Like, it's sad to say, but I mean that's what it was in the league. The rest of the league had an opportunity to go out there and grab this guy, and they also said the same thing, that he's not that guy. So he has to prove to me that he's that guy that could go out there and win a game for us before I would say we move on from Trey. Well, not move on from Trey, but we let Trey sit and we keep Jimmy and we roll with Jimmy for the next couple of years and we see what happens. But again, it would take not him winning a Super Bowl. It would take himself damn near being the MVP of that Super Bowl for me to be like, all right, he's proven what he got. He's healthy. When he's healthy, he knows what he's doing, and we can get there. So
I think if he plays like he did against Seattle for the next 16 games, or 15 games left, 15 games, playoffs and Super Bowl, we keep Jimmy. If Jimmy reverts back to Jimmy, which we'll likely see, because we saw it for 3 years already, then I think we move on. Just if we win the Super Bowl, we move on just like the Ravens did from Trent Dilfer. I think we have a great defense. We're always going to be in the conversation of being the top team. We got
weapons. We have everything we need. We have the pieces there. The reason why we went from Trey to Jimmy wasn't because Jimmy was a bad quarterback. It's because Trey had the opportunity to elevate us to that next step, which we haven't gotten to yet. So that's the thing. Until he can take that step and elevate us to that point, I don't see us saying, what we made a mistake this year by benching him and starting Trey. I just don't see that being the case.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 1,000%. All right, so we'll go into our week 2 picks. Let's see what the standings are, which I think you already know the answer to this. So, Gerald, you're leading 11-3 right now. Oh, sorry, you're 11-3, and you're leading the group. The only one I think you were going to pick something different. Actually, no, it wasn't even you. I think it was me. You talked me out of picking the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But this week was crazy. You picked a lot of the upsets, so it's intense. I think the only ones you missed were the Cowboy game, the Browns game, which was weird, and the Raider game, also weird.
Yeah, that Raider game was some BS. but yeah, that definitely was it surprised me, but it is what it is. There's going to be surprise games during the week. So during the week.
True. And speaking of surprises, Yeah, what were your week 2 surprises? Like what? When you look at the NFL, so you're like, how the hell did that happen?
Also, honestly, so I picked Miami to win that game. But watching that offense just flip a switch and go for, what was it, 4 touchdowns in like a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
that was insane. To me, that scared the crap out of me in a sense, because like I knew Miami was decent, that they were going to be a good team this year. I for sure thought they'd compete, go to the playoffs. That. But for whatever reason, they clicked. They hit that second gear, and the Ravens defense is a good defense. So for them to be able to do that consistently, like Tua looked good.
Shit.
That offense looked good, and that defense started doing what they're supposed to be doing, and yeah, that to me was the craziest thing. I mean, watching the Bills smoke another team was also not as eye-opening, but not unexpected. but it definitely looks like the Bills have a cruise.
Came in clutch.
Yeah, that dude's a stud. If he isn't the best wide receiver in the league this year, then I don't know who's gonna be. But that dude,
Yeah.
he's
Jefferson kind of had a goose egg, so.
I think that was a Cousins more than it was a Jefferson thing, but Cousins seems to like not have to wear shades on Monday nights or something because he can't perform.
I think he has a Monday night win his whole career.
Yeah, I think the lights, maybe he has some kind of issue with being able to play under lights or something, but he's not very good in prime time, so.
Yeah, I thought Stephon Diggs, I picked Stephon Diggs, he's on my fantasy team. But I was down by like 50 points going into the game, and he won it by himself.
So my fantasy game, it's like Tyreek Hill had like 10 points at the third quarter, and I'm like, all right, I'm about to smoke this guy. He already had Amon-Ra who had 40 points, and I'm like, game's over though. I'm cruising. Evans goes and gets suspended. He gets kicked out of the game, and then Tyreek Hill goes and gets 40 points. Like, I literally blinked my eye, refreshed my screen, and I was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah. The thing that's surprised me the most this week. Oh man, that's a couple of things. So like Tua going off for 600 and 500 yards or whatever it was, like that was crazy. I didn't expect that. Obviously the Trey Lance situation surprised the hell out of me. No one expects that ever, but
yeah.
I think the thing that surprised me most was the Raiders just being so pedestrian.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on with them? Like you got all these great players and supposedly a great offensive coach. You can't even score 20 points basically.
Yeah, it was weird. It definitely seemed like it was like the Niners of old. Like they let off the gas in that last quarter, and like I remember watching the Niners back in the days and like thinking that like if you guys would have just pressed on that gas for the full 4 quarters, you guys would have it would have been easy win. And it's always that last quarter. It's like people just start to. I don't know what happened, but I've been overly critical of Derek Carr probably his entire career. One, he's Fresno State, and I'm USC, and all that stuff. And he's a Raider. I'm a Niner. All the good normal stuff. But for me, he's always had that issue. I think is just being able to finish out games. I mean, it happened last year in the playoffs. So I don't know. He doesn't. I think they thought bringing in Adams would help him with that, and he was kind of trying to force it there and trying to get it there as much as possible towards the end of that game. And if that's all you have, you can't. You just can't win. It's not like Green Bay where they had other things going on. It's Devontae Adams, and the next one's Renfro and Waller, but Renfro fumbled it twice. Did not look good for them for sure.
Actually, probably the more surprising thing to me was the Bengals. Actually, I expected them to blow out the Cowboys, and Cowboys came in and did their job.
Yeah.
And they held.
Yeah, now that you say that.
50 yards. So.
Now that you say that, yeah, that definitely Cooper Rush surprised me a little bit. I mean, he's not bad. I never thought he was bad, but I definitely thought that obviously I picked against them, so I did not think they were going to come out there and look as consistent as they did.
Yeah, they didn't do nothing spectacular. It's just that everybody was on point, did their job, did their assignment, and they got a W against a good team too. That's a good team, the Bengals. So
yeah, and they're 0-2 now, so they better figure something out.
And 2 close losses. So anything you want to talk about on the 49ers side?
I mean, it's next man up. I said it. I've said it. That's been our chant for years because we've had issues with injuries for as long as I can remember. But I'm definitely surprised, like you said, by the Trey thing, and it's like one of those things where now I got to shift my mindset and I got to be on the Team Jimmy thing. I will say I will make this dedication now. If he takes us to the Super Bowl and wins, I will buy a Jimmy jersey, whether he's on a team or not next year. I've been adamant not to buy that man's jersey, but I will buy his jersey if he wins us the Super Bowl. So, other than that, though,
I got this jersey after his 5th win as a 49er. Before his first loss.
Yeah. He definitely was. It was exciting, but I always had that like back in my mind, like, is this Alex Smith all over again? And I didn't. And I was cautious with that man, but yeah. So if he wins the Super Bowl, I'm all for it. I'll be all in on Jimmy. But until that happens, I'm gonna roll with what I got. I'm gonna have to go grab me a Huff jersey next.
You think George is coming back this week?
I think so, and I think with Jimmy there, it's extra motivation. I think for him, he was jumping around the sidelines, seeing Jimmy run the ball and do whatever. So I'm like, man, that injury disappeared really quick when Jimmy got in there. But
he was really close to playing actually. So I think he said he only kept him out because he wanted him to get fully healthy.
Yeah, and it wasn't a necessary game for him to play. I think going into Denver though, they're not. They haven't looked great, but they're not a bad team. We still got Russ, which we've always had issues with in the past. So having our weapons on the field will definitely help Jimmy. I think again we go in there with a better game plan for him, and it'll help kind of get us into that shift from that Trey Lance mode to all right, it's Jimmy again. So
yeah, I feel it. I think this week George comes back. We're a fully healthy team. I think the only hole we have is on the right tackle position. And it's not even in the full. Like he's a good run blocker. He's not a good pass blocker.
Yeah.
Well, he's not a great pass blocker. I think that's all I really like. I think outside of that, like this team is fully loaded, ready to go, and there's no excuses. The Marlon Mack show is here, so we'll see how Marlon looks this week too.
Man, I remember we talked about him in the offseason, and I said this guy would be perfect. Why we didn't go grab him then, I don't know. Maybe we felt comfortable with the amount of backs we had. Yeah, so I think he jumps Mason in that number 2 spot, and I think he's gonna open some eyes. I think out there on the field, he's a strong, powerful, downhill runner, and I think it's gonna work good complementing what's his name, Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he could end up being our starter long term. He's not really had. I think he had one major injury in his career, but he's not really had much injury history.
No.
I think if he plays consistently well, I think he can end up being our starter long term, even when Elijah Mitchell comes back.
I mean, he's talent-wise.
It's notorious that Kyle Shanahan offense never has the same leading rusher year after year. So.
Yeah, it always changes, and I don't expect any of our rushers to be. I probably wouldn't draft a Niner running back, but for fantasy. But I know, talent helps with that O-line. The O-line does their thing, and the talent takes the rest of it. So I can see Mac being that guy, but we'll see.
So Jimmy took a big pay cut. One weekend, he's back to getting his normal pay.
Yeah, he's going to hit all the incentives now. So that is best.
That's why.
As long as we win. That's at the end of the day. Like I'm not like, I don't want Jimmy. I don't need Jimmy on the field. Like win us some games. For me, like I said, I'm all in. If he could get us the Super Bowl, then I'll rock the tent for a whole season.
I didn't see what you saw too. I rewatched the game, and I saw a lot of excitement when Jimmy came in the game. Like a lot of different players were like at a different level of excitement, and it wasn't just on the offensive side; it was on the defensive side too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was intense. I was like, is there a little bit of a debate here in the locker room? What's going on?
Yeah, I think they're coached well enough to where they're not going to question, what Shanahan decides, and they're going to go out there and they're going to play either way. But I definitely think it's been Jimmy's team. I mean, he's that guy. He got that smile. He got that just that
Pornstar
type
Jimmy for a
of.
reason.
Yes, sir. So I think it'll be exciting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, next man up. Jimmy got to do his thing. So.
Did you watch the press conference after the game?
Yeah, I did.
Did you think Kyle Shanahan was being defensive?
I think, yeah. I mean, no, I wouldn't say he was being defensive. I think he was being real. You know what I mean? They ask those questions. It's one of those things where he's comfortable in the type of coach he is. I don't think I've ever seen him question the decision he's made as a coach. He's an extremely confident coach. I love that about him. John Lynch is the same way. I think they're very confident in the decisions that they make, and they don't really waver. which sometimes sometimes it looks concerning because you're like, why are you holding firm on this guy? This guy's struggling, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden it's like the switch hits, and you're like, oh, that's why. like they know what they're doing. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and let them do their thing. So, no, I don't think it was more defensive. I think it was more just him, him sticking firm to his decision, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think he questions what he was doing, what he was running. It was working. So,
I agree. I think the whole system here, Kyle, John. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say.
Yep.
And every time they have said something to the public, and we questioned it, or the media questions it, what they said is ultimately what happens, or ultimately what they stand by. Kyle running Trey Lance, and what Grant Cohn said is into the dirt, basically, he caused this injury by running him through the tackles. I don't think that's true. I think at this point in Trey Lance's career, his capabilities aren't where Jimmy's are mentally when it comes to the pass game.
Yeah.
If you look at Josh Allen at the same time frame in his career, the dude was running the ball 10 to 15 times a game as a quarterback.
Yeah. Design runs. Yeah.
Yeah. When Kyle says, look what Buffalo is doing, I don't think he means look at what Buffalo is doing right now.
No.
I think he means look at what Buffalo was doing 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
To help Allen transition into that dual threat quarterback. It's one of those things I don't think people realize. It takes maturity on the field as you play to really develop that skill set. Like, you can be talented, sure. I mean, Patrick Mahomes looked like garbage his rookie year. The times he would spell Alex Smith, and then all of a sudden, second year comes around and he's puts the whole league on notice, and everyone's like, what the hell? So it's one of those things. You got to get a quarterback comfortable coming off of a loss. Trey Lance's best weapon is his legs. So you let him get his legs going. You let him get the confidence, and that way when the play actions come, the dropbacks come, he's confident enough to make those throws because he knows I could fall back on my legs if need be. So I don't blame him at all. I'm not mad about him.
Trey Lance was a smart runner. He's not taking straight hits from linebackers and defensive tackles. Yeah. The hit he took wasn't an overly aggressive hit. It was just the way he got hit while his foot was in the ground. It was the result.
At the end of the day, it was a freak incident. It's not something that it could have been avoided had he slid or had they ran, a rollout type of run or outside the top. Like, it wouldn't have mattered. His foot landed the way it did. He went down the way it did. It wasn't a hard hit. It wasn't like he got smacked and it came up and his ankle was broken. Like, his head was fine. It was just his ankle was off of its. It was just hanging there. So
he jumped back up, he was ready to play, and then he. Oh shit!
Yeah, then he realized, like, oh shit, that's my ankle there. So
And I think we weren't even outside. Even when Jimmy came in the game, we were still running the script. So these plays weren't like down and distance. Really wasn't making a big difference. These are the first 15, 20 plays that he already had on a script. This is what we're gonna run. Let's do it. Yep. And most of the time, Kyle Shanahan's script is fire, because usually we're touchdowns or field goals the first 3-4 drives. It's the second half where we start stalling out. And then later on in the season, when he starts getting a groove of how the team feels, then that's when he gets in his bag.
Yep.
The beginning of the season, he relies on the script.
Yep.
So I thought what happened was a freak accident. I don't think he was very defensive. I think he pulled the dude right. Grant Cohn asked a question, which was a very valid question. Like, why are you running your quarterback on second and 8 or could be power or whatever? It wasn't a quarterback power. It was a read option. And it was the same exact play they ran 3 plays earlier, and Deebo Samuel's broke a touchdown. So it's like, come on, man. It's give and take here. Like, it's football. We got to play football. We got to win the game. At the end of the day, I don't care how we do it. If we run the quarterback 12 times, we run Deebo Samuel 15 times. Let's win.
Lamar runs like 30 times a game, man. Nobody questions that. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's football. Shit happens, and we gotta. It's the next game now. It's the next play. It's the next person. So at that point, pointing fingers and saying you ruined our season, it's ridiculous, because you guys are all questioning whether he should even put Trey Lance in the first place, and why did they get rid of Jimmy? So you're saying all that, and then you go around and you spin around and say, why did you run Trey? Like, you can't win in the NFL as a coach. So you just got to do your thing and hope that at the end of the game it translates. So
I agree with that one. Grant Cohn has never asked why Jimmy G is not in the game. So I'll give him that. However, you're right. Everybody else in the media has asked, why are you playing Trey Lance and not Jimmy G? Because Jimmy G is the better quarterback. Which might be true right now. That's very possible. But we're not playing for right now. We're playing for January and February.
Yep.
So hopefully this does not cause Trey Lance any further harm in his career and he comes back and just kills it. But
I'm confident.
We have a starting quarterback as the backup.
Yeah. Now all the questions is, why did they keep Jimmy and why did they re-sign Jim? Now all of a sudden they look like geniuses. So again, everything they do is there's a means to their madness. So they didn't predict that, but you never know what could happen. And now it ended up being a good call. So.
And this isn't the first time. This is the third time for the 49ers we lost our starting quarterback in like the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And Jimmy G was 2 of them. But now Jimmy G is the backup, so now hopefully he'll play the rest of the season.
Yeah. He came in as not the starter, so maybe he'll stay healthy all year.
Right. But it is what it is. I think we're still solid. I think Jimmy G as our starting quarterback doesn't change anything in my mind. I think we're still Super Bowl bound. I think we're still gonna win this thing. The thumbnail says we're our Super Bowl champion ? I should have put Super Bowl champion for sure.
Yeah, Super Bowl champion ! Because there's no question there. That's a definitive.
But we'll see what happens this week. We play Russell Wilson again. God damn it.
I don't know. He doesn't look like the Russell Wilson of old, though. I think Bosa might hit him a couple times. So we'll see. Let's see.
But that's all I got. That's all I got for right now. What about you?
That's it, man. I apologize to everybody. I sound like crap right now. I got a congestion thing going on over here. School started up and they decided to do
it for some reason.
But yeah, so I'm good, man. I'm excited.
We'll be back on Friday at 12:30. We will be live. So if y'all want to jump on with us, ask some questions. We'll be taking them. We'll definitely answer them. But if not, in the meantime, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us about Jimmy G. Or Trey Lance. Or your quarterback. Whatever you want to tell us about. In the meantime, see y'all later.
Let's go!